Hey everyone, and welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're jumping right into one of the most relentless public health crises of the 21st century. Now, for decades, we've all seen the awareness campaigns, the billboards, the commercials, but today, we are going to look strictly at the hard data. Pulling from research by the World Health Organization and the CDC, it's time we stop viewing smoking as just a bad habit. It's so much more than that. It is a highly complex, systemic addiction with absolutely severe consequences. So we're going to break down exactly what happens, both on a massive global scale and right down to the microscopic level. Let's get into it.
Okay, so let's start by wrapping our heads around the staggering scale of this issue with just one number: 8 million. 8 million people die globally every single year from tobacco use. I mean, let that really sink in for a second. To put that into perspective, that's roughly equivalent to the entire population of New York City, literally wiped out every single year. We aren't just talking about some minor health risk here. We're talking about an absolute epidemic. It's a relentless toll that is actively overwhelming healthcare systems and tearing apart families on every single continent.
Now, what's really wild, and honestly pretty heartbreaking, is when you break down that massive 8 million figure. A terrifying reality emerges. 1.2 million of those deaths are completely non-smokers. These are folks who simply had the total misfortune of being exposed to secondhand smoke. It just proves that smoking is literally never just an individual choice with isolated consequences. The fallout of that smoke spreads outward like wildfire, claiming the lives of over 1 million innocent bystanders annually.
Section 1. The chemical cocktail, inside every puff. To really understand the damage being done, we have to tunnel down from that massive global scale to the microscopic threat that is happening inside every single puff. A smoker isn't just inhaling a little bit of harmless smoke, right? They are taking in a potent chemical cocktail of over 7,000 distinct chemicals. Every single time someone lights up, that overwhelming mixture just floods their entire system. And get this, out of those 7,000 chemicals, at least 70 of them are known carcinogens. It is just an absolute barrage on the body's natural defenses.
Let's break down what's actually in that cocktail. First, you've got nicotine. This is the fast-acting, highly addictive substance that physically hits the brain in literally seconds, instantly locking in that psychological and physical dependence. Then there's tar. It's a sticky residue that literally coats the inside of the lungs and destroys the cilia. Those are the tiny hairs responsible for keeping your airways clean. Next up is carbon monoxide. This poisonous gas actually replaces the oxygen in your blood, forcing your heart to work overtime just to keep you alive. And finally, formaldehyde and arsenic. I mean, wow. It draws a pretty visceral contrast, doesn't it? We are talking about the exact same chemicals used in embalming fluid and rat poison. That is the terrifying, everyday reality of what is inside a puff of smoke.
Section 2. Head-to-toe consequences. Systemic failure. For the longest time, society has really focused almost entirely on the lungs when we talk about smoking. But medical data proves that it actually triggers systemic failure across the entire body. Sure, we are all pretty familiar with the expected respiratory diseases, right? COPD, emphysema, lung cancer. Plus the massive cardiovascular impact that dramatically spikes the risk for heart attacks and strokes. But tobacco use is also deeply tied to some really surprising, lesser-known risks. We're talking about cancers of the mouth, throat, and kidneys. And beyond cancer, long-term smoking directly increases the risk of vision-destroying cataracts and osteoporosis, which basically causes your bones to become brittle and deteriorate. It really is a complete head-to-toe assault on the human body.
Section 3. The vaping illusion, a modern complication.
Over the last decade or so, a massive curveball has entered the market: e-cigarettes, and they have fundamentally changed how nicotine is consumed and marketed. Now, I want you to focus on the word prime in this quote from the American Lung Association. E-cigarettes are often marketed as a safe alternative. Actually, scratch that. They're marketed as a safer alternative, but they are anything but harmless. They still pack harmful chemicals and incredibly high doses of nicotine. And that word, prime, is what's so terrifying. It completely shatters the myth of vaping as some harmless substitute. Exposing a developing adolescent brain to that much nicotine lays down the neurological groundwork, or primes it, for severe addiction to other substances later in life. It's a really profound modern complication that we're just starting to fully grasp.
Section 4. The path to quitting, the body's reversal. Okay, so despite all the intense, incredible damage we've just outlined, here's where things get genuinely optimistic. Because the human body's capacity to repair itself is absolutely mind-blowing. The healing begins almost the second that last cigarette is put out. A mere 20 minutes after quitting, your heart rate actually begins to drop. Within just 12 hours, those dangerous carbon monoxide levels in your blood, the ones we talked about earlier, they return to completely normal. And within 1 year, the risk of coronary heart disease is literally cut in half compared to a smoker's risk. The physiological benefits are rapid, they are profound, and they are absolutely life-saving.
So, how do we actually hit those incredible health milestones? Well, medical data points to a few highly effective strategies to break those incredibly tough psychological and physical chains. Step 1 is nicotine replacement therapy, or NRT, which really helps take the edge off those intense physical cravings. Step 2 involves targeted prescription medications that are literally designed to block the nicotine receptors in your brain. And Step 3, which honestly might be the most vital, is behavioral counseling and support groups. Quitting isn't just one thing, it's a huge, multifaceted challenge. Utilizing all 3 of these steps together provides the ultimate framework for long-term success. It's the whole shebang.
But we also have to remember that individual healing doesn't happen in a vacuum. It is deeply supported by global action. It's not just about relying on pure willpower, it's about the environment we live in. Systemic policy changes are actively driving down smoking prevalence all over the world. Things like hiking up taxes on tobacco, that makes the habit financially unsustainable, especially for younger generations who are just starting out. And implementing smoke-free public spaces, that doesn't just protect those 1.2 million bystanders from secondhand smoke, it actively denormalizes the act of smoking in our daily lives.
So, as we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with one final provocative thought. We've gone through the staggering chemistry, the complete systemic body failure, and the modern traps of vaping. But we've also seen the miraculous, rapid healing power of the human body, and how incredibly effective strong global policy can be. Smoking is this massive, tangled web of biology, industry, and psychology. So I ask you to reflect on this. With the right resources, with continuous honest education, and with steadfast global policy changes, can we actually combine our efforts to finally achieve a healthier, completely smoke-free future for the next generation? Thank you so much for joining me today to focus on the facts. Keep learning, keep asking the hard questions, and I'll catch you in the next explainer.